Joining us from Church Militant right now is Christine Niles. Good morning to you. Your report on this Scranton, PA was like crazy. Seeing the video of the person who impersonated a 15-year-old boy to confront this priest was disturbing because the priest admits everything. He has every intention to prey upon teenage boys. It's disturbing. What is going on here?
It is disturbing, but the more we dug, the more we found out that, wow, there's kind of a whole network behind all this. And there were warning signs that the bishop should have seen. Well, he did. He knew all about them. And yet he continued to push this person through ordination, which makes you wonder, my goodness, have the bishops learned anything at all? Here they have this problem. He's facing prison time now for attempted, sexual assault.
Yeah.
And it all could have been stopped if Bishop Bambera had just respectfully used his common sense and not pushed this guy through ordination.
This particular guy had a reputation when he was in the NAC as a seminarian.
Well, and that's another thing is we got to talk about the NAC, because the NAC keeps popping up every time I do any of these stories. It seems like so many of these people are coming from the NAC. Of course, for those out there who don't know what that is, that's the North American College in Rome, and it's considered the elite American seminary in Rome. It has produced so many bishops, so many archbishops, so many cardinals who come back and they shape the ecclesiastical landscape here in the U.S. But this is something else I reported on this week. You've probably heard of the $25 million lawsuit against the NAC right now that's been brought by an ex-seminarian, Anthony Gorgia. And he's accusing the rector there, Father Peter Harmon, who also pops up in this special report, of promoting predatory homosexuality at the NAC.
Now, that's the only lawsuit to ever been brought up, correct? From I'm not mistaken, on the NAC?
I believe so, and also against Father Harmon. That's the only one that I know of. A new seminarian has just come forward this week, backing up what Gorgia said. He also said, I saw there too. I got retaliated against just like Anthony, and I'm, coming public about this right now. But the point is, Loughney came from that environment. And so what we found out as we did some more digging is that way back when, in about 2007, 2008 or so, when he was a seminarian at the NAC, they caught him embezzling a lot of money from the NAC canteen.
Wow.
There were lots of accusations that he was taking that money and using it for vacations with his boyfriend in Prague. Now, I have to say, Loughney has denied those specific allegations. Who knows what's true or not? He has denied the fact that he used it for gay vacations, but he did admit that he stole the money.
Okay, so I was going to ask that question. So whether or not what he did with the money is a different question, but it has been proven and he has admitted to stealing the money. And what happened to him as a result of that?
Well, he was forced to return all the money, and then, of course, they kicked him out. So he never actually completed his fourth year in seminary. Oh, wow. Which is interesting because normally that's what you have to do in order to become a priest. You got to finish your fourth year. He never did. He went back to Scranton. And somehow the bishop thought it would be a good idea to just take the guy in,
Why? Why? What was the upside about this particular guy that the bishop said, all right, your upsides outweigh your downsides, so let's proceed. What was there anything good about this particular guy?
Well, not to sound too jaded, but I hate to say this. I think in some cases it's because they're homosexual that these bishops like them. Wow. I know that's the case in some dioceses. It's because they're kind of like this, that they will bring them into the fold and promote them and protect them. So, I don't know. I can't go into the mind of the bishop. All I know is that for whatever reason, they decided, okay, yeah, I guess he'd be a good candidate for priesthood. And then, he interned with various people. He actually interned with two priests who ended up involved in their own homosexual scandals. Yeah, those were his mentors.
Oh my.
Is that because they be these bishops that choose these people to be in their diocese? Is that because that people who are homosexually compromised are easier to control, or what's the thought process behind that? Because it doesn't seem like it's a good decision for the salvation of souls. But maybe from that standpoint, it seems like if you have blackmail on people that you could go to prison, then they might be easier to control. Is that a factor at all?
I think that's definitely a factor in some cases. I don't know if it was the factor in Scranton at the time. I definitely know it is a factor in some of the the worst dioceses. At the time, it was Bishop Martino, who's considered a pretty good bishop. So I don't want to impugn his motives. He was relying on the formation director at the seminary, who said, oh, yes, this person is fit for holy orders. So at the time, Bishop Martino, I think he had reservations about Loughney, but because he was relying on what the formation director said, he just thought, okay, well, I suppose we can make him a deacon. And that's as far as it went under Bishop Martino. Then he left. Bishop Bambera comes in, who is just a notorious gay-friendly bishop. He invites Father Martin into his diocese, to speak at his big, diocesan congregation like 4 times now. Loughney became the very first priest to be ordained under Bishop Bambera.
Wow.
And
that's
like I said,
a message right there.
Oh, and that's how I ended I don't want to give away, but that's I basically
spoilers.
That's what I basically said. I was like, in hindsight, it looks like it was a very fitting start to this bishop's scandal-racked tenure.
Yeah, it is absolutely mind-numbing to see how many connections here. And I guess we're speculating a lot here in this conversation, so take that with a grain of salt. However, God, what else are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to wrap our minds around this level of complex and interconnected scandal that keeps coming up over and over again? And you have a priest, you have a young man who's involved in a scandal who admits to it. Allegations fly that he is an active homosexual, and somehow he ends up ordained. He's mentored by 2 guys also caught in homosexual scandals. I mean, it's like you keep unraveling all these layers and you keep finding more and more. Do you think, speculating here again, do you think that part of the motivation might be to eventually have the church teach change its teaching on active homosexual lifestyles in the church? Do you think that that's part of the motivation? Like, if we just ordain enough of these homosexual guys, then the church will have no choice but to accept them? Is that going on here?
I definitely think that is certainly going on with some bishops, and some have certainly become much bolder in that regard. I mean, none of them really dared to say anything like that under Pope Benedict, but now they're feeling much freer, clearly, under Pope Francis, to just kind of come out, the mask comes off. And as we know, some bishops have just come right out and expressed very, very questionable, controversial things about the whole LGBT agenda. We know Cardinal Joseph Tobin in Newark, New Jersey, has been extremely gay friendly. We've got Bishop McElroy in San Diego, who's just rocked right up to the line there. And he employs a same-sex married employee as a youth director in his diocese. Totally scandalous.
Wow.
Completely scandalous. We know Father Martin has come out and said, well, the catechism teaching is just about disordered sexuality. I don't agree with that. It should be differently ordered. And the thing is, it's not just Father Martin saying that. It's the fact that so many bishops welcome him into their dioceses, which give him a stamp of approval on what Father Martin is saying.
We're talking with Christine Niles about her special report that I watched last night, and you can find it up at churchmilitant.com, and just look for the Scranton cesspool. You'll find that report there. You can watch that, or I saw it on YouTube. Hopefully, I think it's still on YouTube, but you can also find it there on their Church Militant YouTube channel. But watching the video of the gentleman who was pretending to be a 15-year-old boy and texting with this priest, and then they arranged a hookup, and he confronts him at the hookup site, which is a convenience store of some kind. And the priest is trying to squirm his way out of it a little bit, but then admits the whole thing on camera. Is absolutely mind-blowing to me.
That usually doesn't happen. But, what's he going to say? The guy had him dead to rights. He had the chat log right in front of him. He started reading it off. The priest was so embarrassed.
He didn't run. I expected him to turn and run. He didn't. He just stood there and just okay, but what do you want? I think he was asking how much money do you want, or what can I pay you or give to you to get you to go away? I just want to go back to my life.
He even said, "Do you want to beat me up? You can beat me up right now." He's well, what do you want? But he did not want to call the police. He really resisted that. And the man was like, you need to turn yourself in. Just turn yourself in. And he's like, can I call someone else instead? He kept saying, and then he's like, no, he's like, do you want to beat me up instead? Anything not to go to the police.
What's one thing, I'm super jaded with everything going on seems like every day now. Why is this report different or notable in terms of like, I feel like I'm hearing about these things coming out every other day. What makes this notable?
Well, rarely do we get priests actually caught in the act the way this is. I mean, we hear about, priests being removed, but on video, you almost never.
And he's guilty. I mean, you can see it on him. He knows. He understands exactly his circumstance. He admits to it publicly. But it's almost like he thinks, well, we just deal with this and move on. And then to see, when you played the video, I hate to give all the spoilers. You got to watch this video. Okay, go do that. But to see the video clip, the B-roll of this priest with teenagers in his role as a priest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm like, oh my heavens, this is so insane to see that he was around these people all the time, especially men, especially boys. And then, of course, every time you read these stories in the news, it tends to be, child abuse, yes. minor, and they're post-pubescent males, they're teenagers who have gone through puberty. This is more than just pedophiles. This is pederasty.
Exactly. And, Bishop and Vera is absolutely responsible. If it turns out that he's got other actual real victims, and there usually are, because he's the one who promoted him to assistant vocations director, knowing his proclivities, and he's the one who put him in charge of the local scouts. And then he put him in charge of the God Squad, which is, a group of 15, 16-year-old boys, which is the same age group he targeted.
That's right.
So the question is, does he have other actual victims?
Yeah, well, college you is. All right, we're just about out of time. Christine Niles, thank you for your time today. The report is called The Scranton Cesspool. It's over on churchmilitant.com. God love you, Christine. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, too.